it's my pleasure to introduce the very talented Mary Bowman.
Woo!
Hello. Hello. How are you all? Good. All right. My name is Mary Bowman. I am a poet, singer, author, and also an advocate for people living with HIV. And so, before I get into my story, I'll share a poem with you all. So make some noise if you've ever been to like a poetry venue or something. So, generally in poetry venues, alright, so like I have to dispel the myth. We don't do that in real life. We clap like regular people, it's okay. Love Jones ruined it for everybody. But, so in a poetry venue, the way it works is if I say something that really moves you or jolts your bones or something like that, you have to give me some energy. So like, woo, or ow, something like that. Just give me, so can we practice right quick? I'm gonna practice the poem, y'all ready? It's rainy outside, and the roads were crowded, and I was afraid I would be late. Thank you. So you have to give me energy. So this first poem that I'm going to do is entitled Dandelions, and it kind of encompasses my story, so I'll explain it after. A dandelion in the midst of rose bushes would stick out like a sore thumb to ignorant souls. But I know the road this dandelion endured, this weed that all gardeners want to destroy, is more appreciated by God than any seemingly beautiful bush of roses. Though that mutely misunderstood, mellow yellow dandelion won't for long last, let it be known that God gave the role of the outcast for divine importance. My mother was a dandelion in the midst of roses. Ignorant of her purpose, she uprooted her soul and unknowingly left herself for dead. It has been said that my mother, when above the influence, transmuted broken hearts into smiles, all the while dying on the inside. AIDS didn't kill my mother, it put her at rest. Now this songbird whistles in the key of silence, and I, the latter of 5, write poems documenting the struggle unknown to my family. The sickness she denied lies in my blood with a lesser value. People speak. I don't know how you can live with knowing nothing but knowing the growing dis-ease that your mother for so long fought. Just the thought alone would destroy me, but see, that's the difference between a rose and a dandelion. Roses were created with thorns to warn hands approaching without caution. Dandelions weren't given that option, but they were created by an all-knowing God. And that all-knowing God created dandelions with the strength to withstand ignorance and hatred. Dandelions live in this matrix of life, understanding the price. Roses live like the world was handed. Dandelions have to take the world and won't leave a rose stranded, but my mother died before she got the chance to realize that dandelions are blessings in disguise. She, I dare say, died before her time. That thought lingers in my mind, conflicting with my belief in the divine. My mom raised me in the faith that the day God took you away is a day proclaimed way before the manifestation, but I can't help but experience devastation, knowing nothing about the woman who carried me, toting guns in defense of my father. It is even harder knowing nothing about her, but knowing the reason the hospital has become my second home is because this dandelion chose to roam with the buffalo. But I seek serenity in the fact that she just didn't know that she, a dandelion, was just as beautiful as a rose. And I will go forth, knowing my purpose as a dandelion. This life is worth all the crying and all the dying I have to do just so someone in my shoes can live. I will gladly give myself as the sacrifice of these. That dandelions in the world will become viewed as more than the consequences of sins behind closed doors. You can lay me on my back and present me lifeless to God if it means that dandelions with unseen scars would not be viewed as odd, but as gifts from God to show the world that beauty lies not in the petals of flowers, but in the power of unconditional love, and in the strength of the untouched, unheard, sometimes unloved, but most important of all, unbudged dandelions.
Woo!
So that poem was the first poem I ever wrote disclosing my HIV status. First time I read it, I was like nerve-wracked, and I had like, a piece of paper, reading it off paper and everything. So it was a completely different experience than right now. And so a little bit about my story is my biological mother passed away in 1992 from complications with AIDS, and I was raised by my biological father. He was what do you call him, a rolling stone. So that's how I came about, because his stone was rolling. He rode to my mom's house and had me. But I was raised by my mom. I call her my mom because she raised me since I was 6 months old. And so I was raised by my biological father and his wife, my mom. And pretty much had a normal childhood, like, you know, any other child. Went to school regularly on time and all of that. Grades, we're not going to talk about that. But, you know, I found out about my status in the 4th grade by accident. You know, I'm nosy and I like to be in grown folks' conversation, but they don't know I'm there. I just know what they're saying. So my mom and the nurse was talking, and she was just like, you know, how long has Mary been HIV positive? And like a thing went off in my head. I'm like, I never heard that term before in my life. All I knew was, you know, my mom would say I take medicine because I have a blood condition, or it's something that my mother gave me, but she wouldn't really explain what it was. So I found out, went back to school like a couple of days later, and we had just so happened to be talking about Ryan White, the guy passed away. I see now, it's good, you know who he is. We were talking about him, and I raised my hand and told the whole class that I was HIV positive, that I take medicine every day and all of that stuff. And my teacher called my mom, and to my surprise, that was not the right thing to do. I should have never told my school that HIV. Like, my mom told me I could get kicked out of school, and you know, she just had a whole list of bad things. So pretty much that started like the internal stigma of dealing with HIV that comes with living with HIV. And you know, just really felt like I was contaminated, or I was bad. The kids wouldn't eat with me at lunchtime. You know, I was already teased because I was tall and skinny. So that just added the fuel to the fire for my elementary school experience. So fast forward, what I do now, besides performing poetry and sharing my story, I work at the Women's Collective. It's an organization in Washington, D.C. that provides HIV prevention as well as HIV services for women living with and affected by AIDS and HIV. And it's a really great organization, so if you know anybody living in the DC area that needs help or wants to get tested or needs any information about AIDS and HIV, especially in regards to women, feel free to contact us at thewomenscollective.org. And so I work in the policy and advocacy department, and just now starting to go to like Ryan White Planning Council meetings and getting inside the policy aspect. And the crazy thing about it is, I don't think I realized, you know HIV is bad, and I know because I lived it every day, but I didn't realize how many barriers to care people with HIV have, and how many resources that aren't available for people living with HIV, and just so many different facets of this epidemic that people don't even realize is happening in our communities. And so, yeah, that's on a tangent, but back to my story. I grew up in a church, Pentecostal church, and was raised very faith-based. You know, my mother didn't really believe in like mental health doctors or stuff like that. We take it to the Lord in prayer, and that's how we fix it. So learning that I had something that I couldn't, like I was sick for the rest of my life, distorted my faith a little bit, and I wrote a poem about that, and it's in my book. And I'll read this and then I'll close up. This is called HIV. The first time I heard the acronym HIV in the same sentence as my name, I knew that my life would stay the same, yet make a dramatic change in the way I viewed God. I'll never forget that day. I'll never forget the way my mother choked on my fate as the nurse asked how long I had been HIV positive. And I knew my ABCs, but this time I sang confused and alone to a tune full of burnt blues in the key of incurable diseases, wondering if Jesus had forgotten to mention my name on the cross. How do you explain to a lost child that her days have have always been full of rain, but you decided to keep down the shade, figuring it's better to leave her unprepared for the hurricanes of life. My parents distorted my faith, but I don't blame them. They've never had to deal with this before, so they did everything they thought they should have done. Sadly, even though you try your best, your games aren't always won, so I counted up the cost of their negligence and paid exact change. I had begun to think of God in the same context I thought of superheroes. I stopped believing in the power of healing and the seam of Jesus' cape. Superman and God had the same qualities in my 4th grade brain. From that day forward, I had bones I wanted to pick with the God who they claimed shot stars into orbit just blinking his eye. The God who paints the sky every morning just so you and I could marvel at the mystery. The God who supposedly wrote the history of my life before the manifestation of my flesh embracing throne. Excuse me if my tone is a little disrespectful, but I have a problem with the man who can make the wind blow but doesn't know how to cure a disease. Or maybe he does and just finds it humorous that I will never succeed in the realm of perfect health. But years later he spoke to me and said, I knew exactly how you felt before you had feelings. And prophets don't always receive their healing because if you never have to struggle, then there will be no story to be told. Elisha was a prophet known to have healing hands, had the power to expand constricted airways, the power to move vertebrae back in its rightful position, the power to destroy the most powerful addictions, all while living with an affliction of his own. But even he danced with his sickness until his last step. He took his last breath comfortably resting in the fact that he was blessed enough already, and that the fact that I hadn't healed him wasn't necessarily important, due to the fact that I had appointed him on the condition of his faith. Then God, in all his powerfulness, had the nerve to quote Kanye, saying that I was worried about the wrong thing. He said, you must have forgotten the fact that you were born with numbers low enough to say that you had AIDS, and that the doctors told your family that you would die before the day that you turned 5, but I, the God of the skies and all its inhabitants, didn't call you into a life flowing with happiness. I called you into a life full of purpose. And through you, I will make it evident that I am, and that I have the power to heal you, but it isn't my will to. You have some testimonial writing to do. There are children who will one day walk in your shoes, and I know your feet hurt now because they are fairly new, but when you pass them on, all they will be able to see is proof that you can walk and even run in these shoes, these bloody, dirty, ugly, beautiful shoes. So please understand that there is a method to the madness, my child. And I know you've been waiting on your healing for a while, but I'm waiting for you to get to a point where if I don't heal you, you'll still pop those pills with a smile as wide as heaven. And FYI, even Superman can become paralyzed. So I promise God that I will bear my cross with pride and never cry about this life again, because I look at God as my friend, and also look at him as an all-powerful being who can do what he wants to, how and when he wants to. I'm living now with a new attitude. I write poems exposing a dark and miraculous truth just so generations after me can relish in the memories and the testimonies, but never have to relive my experiences living with HIV. Nervous when people stand up. I just like, oh my God. All right, so that's my time. I do have books available in the snack area. I couldn't think of what to call it. In the reception area. They're only $10. So if you would like to support me and my artistry and the things that I'm doing, please come see me afterwards, or even just to talk to me and all that good stuff. And if you want to follow me on any social media, because I do see some young people in the building, I'm on all social media. He said that's us. Sorry, that was funny. I'm at Just Mary Bowman, so J-U-S-T, Mary, like the lady in the Bible, Bowman, B-O-W-M-A-N. So thank you all for your time. Be blessed.
Incredible. And So during the youth HIV workshop, our young people had the opportunity to engage in conversations